Have you ever heard of the Twilight Bark? I've heard of it. Never been very good at it. I'm not sure a dog would respond to my Twilight Bark. But Twilight Bark is a form of communication that all dogs have when there's an emergency, when they're desperate for information. And it's not that dissimilar to how we communicate. In wartime, for example, we would have used things like Morse code and other types of codes in order to communicate with each other. It was our way of telling people, or giving out information without fear of persecution. Now, the dogs don't do this. Now, when the dogs do the Twilight Bark, they're passing on information to the next dog, who passes it to the next dog, who passes it to the next dog. There's a game that we all play called Chinese Whispers that works in that similar motion. You pass a message on to someone, that person passes the message on to someone else, and so on and so on and so on. That again comes from our form of communication in the old days. But how do dogs learn about the Twilight Bark? Pongo and Perdita are going to teach their puppies the whole purpose of a Twilight Bark. Maybe not show how to do it, but the meaning behind it. Because the meaning always overshadows the actual effort. Let's see if the story can help explain that. Today's story is a 101 Dalmatians story, and it's called The Twilight Bark. The puppies had just finished watching their favourite show, The Thunderbolt Adventure Hour. Now it was time for bed, and that meant a bedtime story. Pongo and Perdita had decided it was time to tell the puppies the legend of the Twilight Bark. "Ooh, sounds cool," Pepper cheered. "What's the Twilight Bark?" asked Freckles. "Legend has it," Purdy began, that there's a special way that dogs can send one another messages. It stretches from the furthest side of the city all the way into the countryside. Penny gasped. "Wow! Why would you need to do that?" "Sometimes," Pongo began, "you need to communicate information from one place to another quickly, and you don't have time to go to the other place yourself." "I don't need any Twilight Bark," Patch said. "I can take care of myself." "Fat chance," Lucky said under his breath. "What do you know?" Patch barked back. If you ever get into trouble, Purdy told the pups, then go to the top of the highest hill you can find and bark out your message, and the members of the Twilight Bark will pass it along until someone can come to help you. "That sounds like a bunch of baloney," Patch told his parents. "Patch!" Pongo scolded his son. "That isn't very nice." Just then Lucky started howling at the top of his lungs. "What's got into you?" Purdy asked. "I'm trying out the Twilight Bark," Lucky said, "to get us rescued from Patch." Sorry, that was funny. I'll try reading that again. "I'm trying out I can't speak today, I'm really sorry. I'm trying out the Twilight Bark," Lucky said, "to get us rescued from Patch." "Lucky," Purdy scolded, "I want you to apologise to your brother." "That's okay," Patch said. "I don't need his apology. I was right anyway. All that howling and no word from the Twilight Bark." Just then the doorbell rang. All of the puppies gasped and turned to look at Patch. Pongo and Perdita smiled to each other. It was actually Roger returning from the stores. But the puppies didn't need to know that. So just like a message is passed on through Morse code, or passed on through from note to note, the Twilight Bark works almost the exact same way. You bark, a dog will bark, another dog will answer. If they can't solve the message, they will then pass the message on to another dog, who would pass it on to the another dog, and 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 another dog, until eventually the end dog finds or knows of a solution to that dog. He then passes on his solution to the previous dog, who passes it to the previous dog, who passes it to the previous dog, and so on and so forth until it gets back to the previous owner. That's how Chinese whispers work. If you pass on a message, pass on a message to the person sitting next. In fact, next time you're with a small group and you decide to have a little bit of fun, ask everyone if you can pass a message on to them. A sort of Chinese whispers experiment. Pass on a simple message. It could be anything from elephants never forget, or even let's go for a walk. Pass that message on to the person sitting next to you. He will then pass the message on to the next person, and the person will pass the message on to the next person until it comes back round to you. Now have a listen to the message that's passed on to you. Is it the exact same way, or is it different? And see how different it is. We know that with the Twilight Bark, hopefully, the message gets passed on and on and on and on and on until it reaches the next person, the proper person. Now, if that message has gone through all the way, that person on the end should be able to solve the mystery. Messages work the same. I can't speak today. Messages work in this kind of style. It's a way of passing secret messages and secret code onto one and another. Have a try yourself tomorrow. See what kind of interesting stuff that you get, and comment down below what the previous message was and whether the message came back to you, or what was the slight difference in the message that you got. See how interesting the messages can be. And on that note, I'm going to pass a message on to you. Comment, like, and subscribe. Even if it's a dislike, I always want to know why. And I always want to be able to improve the channel in any way, shape or form. And I hope you join me tomorrow for another bedtime story. I'll see you again next time. Ciao for now.